Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Lunch was so tasty. I spent a good time with the chicken. It was fantastic. Now we're jumping right back into it. I have some prizes here, and we would not be doing well if we didn't try to practice what we are preaching. We are saying here the learners must really understand. The learners, do we understand? So, to kick us off, I have a little quiz for us. There are some questions, some famous maths, physics, and chemistry equations. And I'm going to be going around the room with a mic with prizes. Let's see what's happening now. Where's my mic? Fine. I'll take them from the front. So let's get started. Here's the first one. It was so quick. Shout it out. What's the name of this one? Which one? Hmm. It has a specific name. Hmm. Pythagoras. Pythagoras. Well done. Pythagorean theorem. No, but you must be specific about the name, not algebraic. Who? Okay, we got it. That's an easy one. This is how we want our classrooms to be. I'm going to go that way. Oh, we got right. Let's see which one it is. Yes, give it up, give it up. Quadratic formula. Ish. I remember this one. Okay, I'm gonna go with the here. They are like shouting out. Sign rule. Give it up, give it up. I'm coming to the back now. I'm coming to the back. Let's go. At the back. Oh, now your hand is not going up. Okay. Newton's second law. Give it up. Yo. Let's go to the middle. Let's go to the middle there. Here's the guy. Yeah, you. They stole it. Who? What are you gonna say? Not quite. In the middle, somewhere in the middle. Let's give it to her. It's fine. Sorry. That side. We haven't been that side. Okay, here's another one. Let's go that side. To the back there. We've already went that side, so we're gonna go there. Welcome me. You see, this is how engaged I want the classrooms to be. Let's go that side. Which one? Yes, shout it out. Very nice. And then who is this? He has apples, lived 1643 to 1727, English. All right, let's get it there. Newton, Sir Isaac Newton. Okay. Let's calm down. Let's calm down. Let's. Woo, woo, woo. I came that side. I'll come back. I'll come back. I'm here now. You wanna shout it out? Voltage formula. Do you guys agree with it? I came this side. I already gave you a chance. Let me give the lady a chance. Shh. Let's calm down. Ohm's law. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, let's see. Let's quiet down. Let's quiet down. Let's see the next one. It looks the same as the previous one. What is this one? How? Where are my hands now? Are you guys okay? This side? Yeah. Eh? Hey, we are Google almost. Okay, I'll give it one last try. Let's go that side. Shout it out. Let's see. Wave equation. We'll give both prizes. Well done. This one I know. This is Mariah Carey's album. E is Mariah Carey squared. Okay, I'll go to the back. Okay. You want to shout it out, sir? But commonly known as Rala. Great. The mass energy equivalence. I'll give it. I'll run. Obvious. Obvious. I am not giving a prize. It's obvious. It's obvious. You can give one away. You can give one away. It's very obvious. Give it a try. What kind of pie? Chicken pie. Oh, yeah, taking me back to lunch. I have like 3 more. I gave you a chance. You were fast. You were fast. Let's shout it out. Shout it out. Equilibrium. Constant. Who's this? Let's give it to the lady. Marie Curie. Yeah. Yeah. You sure about it? One person. Do we have any other person? There's another person. I will take it. You will whisper it to me, and then I'll go there. So, wait. Okay. Do you have another hand? Okay. Let me take yours. Scream it out. Aish. He got it. The photoelectric equation. Well done. No, it's quite clear. We were getting 90%. Just that last one. Ish. Yes. I'm getting schooled. Ah, okay. Yeah, I got a lesson. So I'm going to go change it and say equivalent to pi. Really good. Give it up for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. That was a spirited, engaging class. That's how we want the classrooms to be. People must be jumping with the answers. They must be so excited. Like I said, the morning was about diagnosis, the afternoon is about solutions and on the ground experience. To get us back on track, we have Mampolanga, who will be taking us from insights to implementation. Mampolanga holds a master's in mathematics education from the University of the Witwatersrand and has over 3 decades of experience in teaching and academic leadership. She is the head of schools at Future Nation Schools and head of professional development and academic programs at Nation Next College. Formerly head of academics at the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls and founding head of the Africa School for Excellence, she has championed curriculum innovation, teacher development, and project based learning aligned with Afrocentric and CAPS principles. Ms. Langa is also a published author of the Platinum Mathematics series for grade 7 to 9. Well, well, well. I used that book. This is the person who gave me terrors at age 13. Ms. Mampo, after school is absolutely after school today. Please help me welcome Mampo Langa.
Good afternoon. I know we had a good lunch, and I'm a maths teacher. I can't stand at the podium. It doesn't work. I've been a teacher for years. I'm still a teacher till today. So I'll be talking like a teacher. I can't do what they've done. Before we even start, I'm really heartbroken. This is really, what we've seen is really disappointing. It makes me sad because I'm also a maths teacher. And the question that comes to me is, how many students have we discouraged from doing mathematics without even knowing that we're doing that? Isaac, who was here, was in the school I taught, Matsidiso. And he said to me, Mampo, when you left, I was doing grade 11. I missed you. And I'm going, I wonder if I would have managed to encourage her to take higher grade, because the pressure was, we want results. We want results. I'm sad that the Department of Education is not here, because they are the ones pushing for that 100%. That is quantity. They're pushing for quantity when we are looking for quality. And it is said that the people who are affected are the ones who need maths. The victims are our students who come from the environments that cannot allow them to proceed without mathematics. That's the sad part. I'm going to start by showing you that. Let me get used to this. Okay, there we go. I'm going to tell you now what happens when you do maths in your brain. Scientifically proven. It doesn't come from research has been done. Those, I see there are academics around here. I don't know if you've read the book, There's an Elephant in the Room by Joe Bowler. Let's all read that book. Let's all read that book. That's when you realize that what you are doing to the student. As Zeph is going, Zeph, go and read the book. You won't shake your head. Now, this is what happens. I've written 1 divided by 2 over 3. Most of our students will do what? I've got a grandson who's my guinea pig. They go to the rule. You multiply and tip and toe and you get the answer. I said to him, no, show me diagrammatically or anything. He said, oh, Mama Musa, I know the answer. I don't want you to give me 1.5. Oh, Mama, what do you expect? But those are the things that we do in the classroom. We encourage, do it fast, you are smart. We've already labeled them. Our fixed mindset makes them to have a fixed mindset about mathematics, because we tell them once you get the answer fast, you are smart. This is what happens if we give them an opportunity to make a mistake, to try, to reflect. Now look at how the brain works on my left. There's memory, there's quantity, attention, processing, and number. And if we do what we are doing, the rule, do it, cut, tick, go next time, next one, boop, boop, done. This is what happens now. But once we allow them to make a mistake and reflect on their mistake and improve their mistake, look at the connectivity that happens on the right. The memory connects with the quantity, attention, and everything. And these days, our challenge is even worse. They use AI. I gave some of my students, I said, if the answer is 2x plus 2, what is the question? They said, oh, ma'am, what kind of a question is that? I said, try anything. Give me the question. Set a question where the answer will be that. Do you think you'll use AI for that? Never. There are innumerable questions that can come from that. Innumerable that can come from that. And that's what we want. Mathematics, there should be connectivity. There should be connectivity. We should be able to connect those neurons. I don't know if you know that our brain can grow. Our brain, there's what we call neuroplasticity. That is why at 65 I can still teach, because my brain is stimulated every day. And that is why he managed to do his PhD at 70, because your brain can grow. Let's remember, our brains are not fixed. Neuroplasticity is there. Our brains can grow. A child you've declared unfit is fit, because you have a growth mindset about that child, and he won't grow. His or her brain won't grow if you tell him that's not if these ones must go. These ones must go to maths literacy, or these ones must go to either other class. You know how we divide them? We want to accelerate the smart ones. We leave these ones. These ones will go to Mampolanga. Mampolanga, take these slow ones. We've already put them in a box, fixed mindset. And what happens to your brain? No connectivity. Look at the spark. Guys, this is science. This is not Mampo. Look at the spark that happens when the neurons connect. We don't connect the neurons. We need to know that performance is not the key to learning. We emphasize performance-based. That's what we do, because that's how we're taught. A school is assessed by the performance. It doesn't. Mistakes should be treated with respect. They've mentioned Finland. There's a research that has been conducted in Finland and also Japan. And when they went to that class, they found the teacher with the student. Once you've made the mistake, you come to the board. No one laughs. How can we solve it? What happens? The spark, there's fire. They even say there's fire in your brain once you start making those mistakes. Growth mindset. We also need to change that attitude. I've stopped telling my grandson that you are smart. I would always say, no, you know you can do better. Go back and do it. Find the mistake. Growth in the mind. Curriculum will never, ever solve the problem we have. We need to change our pedagogical approach in the classroom. The elephant is in the classroom. We need to change how we think about our students. Now, where I'm going to be talking about project-based learning, I've highlighted a few things that we do that I also did, by the way. I've been teaching for years. We said mathematics is for the few. This one. I remember at home they used to say I'm the smart one because I loved maths. Duh. Who said so? Who told them that? Who said I'm smart because I know maths? And when you tell people I'm a maths teacher, they go, wow, Mampo, you're a maths teacher. Who came with that? And there are students who cannot read. We worry about them. You know, this student cannot read. We need to do something. Why don't you have the same attitude about maths? If a student can read, it means a student can do mathematics. We should be worried. At primary school, they would say, this student cannot even construct a sentence, cannot read. You need a psychologist. But with math, shame. This one is not gifted. It's only for the few. Yeah, it's only for the few. And we measure it. We also have ability groups. The one I've mentioned are these ones are the smart ones. We accelerate them. These ones are, you know, we used to have a teacher who used to say, dum, 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 dum. So these ones fall under the dum category. And you know, as kids, we would laugh. You know, we're laughing at our own detriment. How can you allow a teacher to say dum when you've made a mistake? When we should be rectifying that mistake. We have a tendency of emphasizing on the correct answer. Yes, that's correct. You are smart. And then the fast learners. My grandson enjoys getting things fast. I got it. Because that's what? That's the philosophy we taught them. You get a thing fast, you are smart. And they won't grow. And mistakes, we say those who are slow, about dumb. So you don't have to do maths. Now, what should we be doing? I've given few examples of project-based learning. Project-based learning is more about it is a method. I don't want to use the word method. It's a pedagogical approach that we can use to teach mathematics. Why? Because it is authentic. It makes sense to the students. Most of us are teaching maths and they will ask you, why do I have to do that? Now, let me give you a simple example. You will agree with me. You write on the board 2x is equals to 6. The first thing the students will do will use the rule of equation. Start dividing by 2, dividing by 2 to get 3. But go to primary school, grade 1, 2, 3, and say 2 multiplied by a box equals to 6. Have you seen those little ones, how they struggle? They will finally get it. Why are we changing it when we go to high school? We are also responsible with emphasizing of rules, fixed mindset. I'm also like that. I was like that, not anymore, by the way. Yeah. Now, these are the common examples. I've put them in red. Find the area of a rectangle. They give you length and breadth. They would calculate. Got it, ma'am. And so what? After getting it, change anything, they won't be able to do it. It does not make sense. It is not practical. But if you give them, how would you design a sports field in my school? That's project-based learning. First of all, what have you included there? Perimeter, area, a circle, a radius. You've mentioned so many things, and those are things they will discover. You don't have to tell them that. That's project-based learning. So in project-based learning, what we do, we give them a driving question. And in those driving questions, we allow them to explore, to experiment. And as they do it, guys, they won't forget it. They will never under any circumstance, because they are the ones who came with it. Guys, this is not a curriculum. It's just a different pedagogical approach. Another example, calculate mean, medium, mode. I used to do this all the time. I didn't know what it means up until I went to university. I said, oh, this was stats. You just memorized. We don't even know the application of all of this. This is stats at its best. They're doing it already at grade 7, hey? They've started mean, mode, median. Oh, that's the mode. Oh, mode, oh, median. Then that's it. The application goes a long way. Find the next pattern. We've got patterns all over. That's the application. But for project-based learning, when you give them, I've got an example of project-based learning. You need to consider that maths should make meaning, and students should understand that I can use maths in also other subjects. Someone was talking music. Is it you who was talking? Oh, that creativity. You find it, music is mathematics. They know the very same equations you are talking about here. You, the physical science people, I want to kill them, including you, Peter. You really mess up our equations when it comes to physics. You show them the shortest way of doing it without understanding cross multiply and all of that. They don't even know where that comes from. But once you do project-based learning, you're able to integrate subjects. Now here, these students are designing a sports ground. I initiated it as a maths teacher. They should know that maths will come in. Look at how much there'll be measurement, there'll be scale, there'll be budgeting, there'll be data handling, technology, natural science. I can't go through all of them. Students start to see that maths is practical. Students start to see that what I've learned can be used as a solution to designing this. So this integration of subjects is something that you do before you start your year, where you sit down and say, next year, this is what we're going to do. Now, what are we solving? You come up with a problem. The very same driving questions I've written there, you come up with a problem. Anyone can come. Now, how will each subject solve that? Just see the fun that happens when you do that. In project-based learning, their voice is very important. We don't always allow them to talk. Let them mess up. Let them make mistakes. Let them dream. Some of them come with solutions that are non-existent. It's okay. That's the thinking we want. We want them to think beyond the classroom. So this, their voice and choice, we allow it. And I know most people say, your voice and choice will waste my time. I've got so much curriculum to cover up and the ATPs, la, 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 la. Now, the problem is, what's the point of you finishing the ATPs when they didn't understand? What's the point? You are flogging a dead horse. You are flogging a dead horse. So let's make sure that there is understanding through practical application. We know in some instances practical application is not possible, but most of the time it is. It is, especially when you talk to your colleagues. There's also authenticity. I've spoken about that. I don't want to talk a lot about that. Whatever you give them should be something that they are used to. You can't come to an environment where there's shortage of water and then start telling them, let's go and test water. You'd rather say, how can we bring water into the community? So it has to be an authentic problem, a problem that will make them want to know more, a problem that will want them to investigate. So that's where authenticity would come in. Don't ever force because, oh, at Future Nation schools, they're doing something about the playground. Let me also copy that, only to find that you don't even have space for the playground. You don't need that. So it has to be authentic and adult connection, very important. The people who were talking to us earlier on, most of them are not teachers. I'm not an engineer. But if they have a project where they have to build a bridge, I will bring an expert to come and talk to them. You don't know how much they enjoy it. Oh, that is why we were taught this. I'm talking as little as grade 1 up to grade 12. Actually, we do PBL from grade 1 up to 9 because from 10, 11, and 12, they do what we call individual projects where they choose their own field of study. But below that, you get someone outside who's an engineer. It also helps them with choice of careers. The engineer will come in. This is what happens. They go, oh, that is why I know about this. Oh, they do that. Adult connection goes a long way. And their dream would be an engineer, if you call an engineer. Because right now they don't even have role models at home. Yeah, they've got Abu Makinza who are doing very well. Yeah, people who are stealing cars are the ones who are doing well. So those are their immediate role models. What can we bring to them? We need to bring these people for adult connection to come and talk to our students. Reflection and critique. This is the time to reflect, teachers. Today, I really am heartbroken. Today is the time to reflect and critique. Go home and sit down and say, what can I do? Do I have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? Critique and reflection is very important when it comes to project-based learning. You should be a reflective teacher. If 60% of the students are not getting above 60, do you say, oh, these kids bayadelela, these kids are lazy? Or do you sit down and say, let me look into this. Maybe something I'm not doing right. So in project-based learning, we need to reflect and critique each other and be honest. I know there's a protocol that we follow. In that protocol, we always say to people, hard on content, soft on people. We should learn to critique each other, learn to go to each other's classrooms without an appointment. Sit and watch what they're doing and give them feedback. And the feedback should not be a grudge, eh? So I'll go to a class and tell a piece of my mind. No, we don't mean that. We don't mean that. You go into the class and critique a person. And it should be a growth for you and the person you are critiquing. So if you are scared of reflection and critique, then you are not a teacher. What we just learned today, today you should be able to critique, sit down. Teachers, if you're a teacher like me, this is the time to sit down and reflect. What can I do as an individual? I think excuses, hey, we come with excuses all the time. Hey, my class is big. Hey, the government, I'm tired. Yo, we have so many excuses. Yo, guys, let's change that. It's time to move away from excuses. Let's have a no excuse attitude and look at what can I do as an individual in my school. Okay, I think this is the last slide where the students now in project-based learning would exhibit. They will be showing off what they got. We went to one of the schools, was it on and one of the principals is here. It was on a Thursday, was it Thursday? And they were exhibiting what they've done. They took a refurbished a bicycle, an old bicycle, refurbished it, and it also had a solar powered. They came with it solar powered. As you pedal, there's electricity that will flow where they can charge computers, they can charge batteries. They can charge anything, even your cell phone. But that's innovation. Because what? They started somewhere. Because someone believed that they are capable of doing. Let us believe that they can. I was talking to Sir now and said Albert Einstein and were declared invalid. If you read their history, they were said, when this one has learning disabilities, eh? Yeah, they said, this one, I forget, we take him to the classes there, they're lagging behind. That's fixed mindset. You've got a lot of geniuses that you've put into maths literacy. A lot of them. We need innovation. We can't talk about innovation if we have a fixed mindset. It starts with us, then it will reflect on our students. Thank you.
So much. A growth mindset that when someone understands that if I can't do this, it doesn't mean I can't do this ever. It just means I can't do it yet. That is so important. In fact, studies show that that growth mindset is actually the most important indicator of success. It's not IQ, like Mampo has said. Thank you so much for that, Captain. If you taught me maths, ish. Our next speaker is going to talk about developing effective mathematics using what you have. I love the title because we often focus about what we don't have, the challenges. Now let's talk about what we have in hand and how we can make an impact. Ms. Bernice Scotta is the National Alumni Coordinator at Numeric and a passionate educator and advocate for teacher development with over 14 years of experience in the education sector. Having taught mathematics and physical science across a wide range of schools, Ms. Scotta brings deep insight into the realities of South Africa's education system. Her work focuses on mentorship, coaching, and supporting educators through professional development that strengthens classroom practice and improves learner outcomes. She is especially passionate and practical about sustainable approaches to mathematics education and empowering teachers to make an impact with the resources that they have. Please welcome Bernice. Practical.
Thank you. Good afternoon, colleagues. We just had lunch, so I think we need to get energized a bit before we get into my part of the presentation. So I'll just ask you to stand, please, where you are. Let's stand and get some energy going. Okay. Right, so we're here today, and one thing that's for sure is that we are alive. We are alert, we are awake, and we are enthusiastic, are we not? All right, so it goes like this. I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. Shall we? I'm alive, alert, awake. So, sorry, I'm using the mic, but it's both hands. I like this. I see teachers using one hand. It's both hands. Awake, enthusiastic. All right, now we sing it. It goes, I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. I'm alive, alert, awake. Let's go back. Awake, alert, alive. Alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. I'm alive, alert, awake. Awake, alert, alive. Alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. Well done. All right. And at numeric, we don't just clap. So we have specific claps that we do at numeric. And for what you just did now, I'd like for you to give yourselves what we call a McDonald's clap. And this is how it goes. Oh, this mic. So it goes. Let's get into it. So my name is Bernice. I am from an organization called Numeric. We are a maths organization. We run after-school maths intervention programs. We're based in Cape Town, where we work with schools in Mfuleni, Khayelitsha, Site B, Mitchell's Plain. That's where our head office is. We also have an office here in Johannesburg. That's where I'm based. It is in Soweto at the UJ Soweto campus, where we work with schools around Soweto. We work with schools in Diepkloof, schools in Zola, Mufulo. If you know Soweto, you know how scared people are of Deep Soweto. That's where we go. We work in Pinetown. Our office in Durban is at UKZN Edgewood campus, where we work with schools there in Claremont and Chelimnyama. So we go right in the deep. So what do we do? Why are we here? We believe in a South Africa where every child, is given the opportunity or empowered with the skills and the confidence to contribute meaningfully to their own lives and to the society where they belong. So we are trying to bring that access that everyone has been talking about in mathematics. Our mission is to help young South Africans excel in mathematics and to train well-equipped and passionate teachers for the public school system. With that being said, there's one of our former coaches here who is a well-equipped, world-class teacher. Dimakato, please wave there. Right at the back there. It's amazing to come to these spaces and see one of our own. Right, so how do we solve the vicious cycle of our learners not being exposed to mathematics and eventually getting back into a system where, there's no opportunities? We address this in two scales, in two levers. The immediate, need for our foundational maths with our learners. So we run after-school intervention programs. We take our interns, who we call coaches, to our schools twice a week. So we give 3 hours of mathematics to our kids. We work with grade 6 and 7 kids. We give 3 hours of maths per week, which scales up to 100 hours per year of extra mathematics that we give to our learners. So we're closing those gaps. But we don't just take anyone to these classes. The other part of what we're covering is in trying to develop these world-class teachers, we train our teachers. Okay, so we work with predominantly B.Ed students, people who are starting to become teachers. So we're giving them exposure to the classroom, we're giving them the experience already before they even get qualified. We work on their content, we work on the pedagogy, we work on all these skills that we believe that a well-equipped teacher must have. That is who we are. I'm not here to talk about numeric. I just wanted to give you a background of where I'm coming from. Today, we are talking about developing effective mathematics lessons using what you have. All right? What do we have at numeric? So obviously, if you have mathematics to go and teach in a class, you're not going there to teach the tables and chairs, are you? No. So we believe that central to a proper maths lesson is classroom management. Okay? And why do we care about classroom management? Because classroom management is the center to the culture of your classroom. You're not teaching tables and chairs. So that the whatever happens in the classroom, there has to be a culture that is built between you and your learners. Conducive learning environment is a product of proper classroom management. And obviously, making learning fun, but in a disciplined way. So what we do at Numeric is that we make every learner believe and understand that they can do mathematics by making it fun. Because one speaker said, we as teachers are the ones who actually make this mathematics look like this big, ugly, scary thing to our kids. So at Numeric, we bring play and we bring fun into how we teach mathematics. Okay, what tools are we using? Energizers, what I just did with you. We run afternoon sessions. Kids have been at school from 8 in the morning, and they come to us, they're tired, they want to go home, they'd rather go to soccer, so we energize them. We get them into the space where they want to learn. We use things like robot paper, so I'm just going to show you a few of the things that we use. So robot paper here. Robots because green, orange, red, right? Like our robots. So we use this at different levels and with different, in different ways. In class, we're avoiding learners shouting, learners, fighting for attention. So we say, when you're ready for me, or when you're done doing whatever activity, put your card on green. If you need assistance, put your card on orange. If you just want me to stop, maybe I'm explaining something and you don't understand what I'm doing, put your card on red, then I can see that it's immediate. Can use it for that. Or you've put up an activity for kids, maybe there's 5 sums to do. You say, if you've done 2 sums, put your card on green, then I can come start marking. If you've done 3 sums, put your card on orange and so forth. So different ways that you can use the robots in your class. We call them robot cards. We use something called the name sticks, all right? So we want to encourage our coaches to enforce something fairness in the classroom. So we don't want learners to feel like they're being targeted or they're not being given a fair chance maybe to give answers or something like that. So we have name sticks that have our learner names and we put them in a jar and the coach picks a name, right? This also encourages participation because a learner doesn't know whose name is going to come up. So they are focused and they're on task all the time. And then we have something very nice that we do with our kids. It's called the drills. There's 50 sums. We have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. We have mixed drills as well, where we have mixed operations. There's 50 sums. Our kids get 5 minutes when they start. They get 5 minutes to do this. And if they can do it in 5 minutes, we say they level up. They do it in 4, they do it in 3, they do it in 2. We have kids who can finish these drills in 47 seconds. Right? The nice thing about these is that you start with learners who sometimes get 5 out of 50. Right? We encourage them. We work with them. We do what Memlanga was saying just now. You have them see what their mistake is. Then you show them tricks. You show them ways to work around it. This sparks their thinking. Right? It's mental maths that we normally do at the start of our sessions. We have different things, even something called flashcards. These help them to practice their operations. And then we have another thing, nice thing that we have, which is called Maths 24. These cards were printed back in 2014 and we still have them. So these resources are also very durable. It's not things that you need to buy all the time. There's different things that we use, as you can see on the list there. So I want us to do something that we do in our numeric classes. Maths 24. Can I get someone to get the number 24, by using these numbers only once and using operations as many times as you can. Get the number 24. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes. So 5 times 2 is 10, times 2 is 20, plus 4 is 24. Well done. I wish I had nice things to give you. Maybe I'll get one. Yes. Now we'll get more people. Now you'll see the intensity of the card by the number of dots in the middle there. So when we have 2, it means the card is harder than the first one there. Let's look at that. 7, 4, 5, 1. How do we get 24? Numbers only once, operations as many times as you want. Yes, ma'am. 5 times 1 is 5. It's okay. It's okay. Should I give a numeric coach? You should know. 5 plus 1, okay. 5 plus 1 is 6 times 4. And the 7, we need to use all the numbers, ma'am. Yes, all the numbers. Yes, sir. 7 times 4 is 28. 5 minus 1 is 4. 28 minus 4 is, yep. Yay, thank you. All right, so I've got my 2 winners there. I'll allow people to look at the third one. So 3 stars is a bit harder. Get it. Yes, ma'am. 2 times 7 is 14. 5 plus 9 is 14. Gets 28. We want 24. Yes, sir. 9 minus 7 is 2. Yes, ma'am. 5 times 7 is 35. Minus 9, which is 26, minus 2 is 24. Well done. Is this a gift? Is this it? Yay. Thank you. You get a bag, lady. Well done. Now, remember at numeric, we don't just clap, we give special claps, right? Now we're going to give her a KFC clap. With KFC, we say, we go. Right. Well done. Thank you. Okay. So let's get right into it. Like I said, classroom management is central to an effective lesson, right? And who is the most important resource in the classroom? Definitely, it's you, the teacher. And don't ever forget that. So you as a teacher being the most important resource in the classroom, how do you show up? Positive presence, right? How you show up counts. You need to have strong content. Otherwise, you lose credibility with your learners. If your learners see that you're depending on your textbook, they see that you're always second guessing your answers, they see that you're second guessing their answers, then it makes them to start doubting you. That's not something that you want. So you need to know your content, go to professional development, know yourself, right? Critique yourself, as Memo was saying, reflect, check, what is it that I don't know? What is it that I need to know? In my role, I'm often a reference for a lot of our teachers, because when they graduate, they apply, then people call me, Bernice, do you know this teacher? You know, how's their maths? Sometimes I get people who say, this person has applied to be a teacher in our school. We're a primary school, but we want someone who's an FET teacher. And I ask why? And they're like, because someone who's an FET teacher has stronger content than someone who's an intermediate qualified teacher. So if they have that strong content, they teach our kids for that content. All right. And that is the reality that a lot of private schools have, you know, the they can ask for because they're private schools. But we're sitting with a situation where our teachers are going to public schools. So we want our teachers to have that content. You have to be on par with the content as a teacher. You have to be the expert. Something called strong voice. I said when I started, you must have a teacher voice. I wanted to speak with my teacher voice, right? There's a difference between a strong voice and a teacher voice. A strong voice is just your presence, right? The stay. You build that relationship with your kids for them to understand. You cannot always be shouting in class. Mampo, are you making noise? Tanega, are you making noise? No. Tanega needs to understand. You must have that relationship that Tanega understands that, ish, now mem is serious, right? Using your body, walking around, just standing next to the child. That's your strong voice. You must not be afraid of them. Your classroom is your stage. You need to be able to walk around and perform in that stage. So I always say there's a difference between the teacher voice and the strong voice. The teacher voice is within the strong voice, but the strong voice is what needs to be the powerful one as a teacher. And then the joy factor, which unfortunately a lot of maths teachers do not have. Kids are afraid of mathematics because of how we stand, of how serious we are in the classroom. Yes, it is a serious subject. Yes, everything that everyone has said at the start of the summit is true. We need mathematics, right? But you cannot go into the classroom and scare learners about this mathematics. So you must bring the joy factor into the classroom. Tell your kids a story. Talk about yourself. These kids want to know more about you. They want to know why you're even there, why you're a teacher. If they connect with you, then they connect with the subject that you're teaching. Right? These are the 8 traits of positive presence in leadership. I incorporate these in classroom management because as a classroom manager, you are also a leader in your classroom. So which of these traits do you bring into your space? Something to think about. What style do you have? What style of teaching do you have? And this is unique to you. The way your colleague teaches will not be the same the way that you teach. Right? Are you confident? Do you have charisma? Are you concise? Are you authentic? Are you relatable? Remember, Paul was talking about building a stadium. You can't talk about having a stadium in a space where it's not relatable. You don't even have the means for it, or you don't even have the place or the space for it. So you need to be relatable, right? Have composure. Be trustworthy. Our learners pick on the little things that we do. If you always promise them something and don't follow up, you don't become trustworthy anymore. And if they don't trust you, they don't care about you trusting them. And that is a big challenge that we have. We cannot not care how our learners see us or how our learners view us because we are expecting the same from them. They mirror us. I used to have a teacher who, when she was wearing red boots, we knew that it's going down. You know, you knew that, yeah, and to the T. And she used to call me Berenice. She would call me in Sesotho. My name is Berenice, and she'd be like, Berenice! And you know, it's going down. And she kept to that. And we knew that's how much our kids know us. Right? So it's all about building relations with our kids. There's 3 parts to classroom management. You bring yourself, you build relations with the kids, and then you create engaging lessons. So how do you build relations? Something called 100%. That means include and involve everyone in your classroom. Your kids must know that you as their teacher, you are fair. They must know that when they come to your class, they are equal. This thing that someone was saying, Mem was saying, sorry, Mem, I'll keep referring to you because you're a speaker just before me. You know, you can't say, yes, you are smart. No, you are not smart, right? You need to know your learners and you need to be fair. And your learners must trust that you know them and they trust that you're fair, right? Culture of error, once again, something that Mem touched on. Allow learners to make a mistake. With mathematics, there's no ways that they can learn without making a mistake. They need to make that mistake and then you need to go back. Allow them to work on their mistake to get to the solution. Threshold. This one is a nice one. I have a picture of obviously a primary school one. I wonder if everyone here can see me. So threshold means at the door, threshold. When your learners come to class, you're in charge of what is happening inside while you welcome them into your classroom. So you need to be in charge of your class before your lesson even starts. As they walk into your classroom, you're greeting them. That's being personal with them. Just greeting. Because then if they come in and you find them in class and there's no systems in place, then they're in charge. So you need to be in charge and set the tone for your classroom before the learners even sit down. So obviously with the little ones, we do fist palms but with the grown ones, you can always just say, tuck in your shirt. You're not coming into my class looking like that, right? But obviously in a kind way. I always say you don't have to be nice as a teacher, but you need to be kind. In a kind way, because you don't know what they've been through before they got to your classroom. So when they get at the door, show them that you appreciate them being there. Show them that you're happy they're there, especially with mathematics. You have to be enthusiastic about them coming to a maths class. Then they'll also be enthusiastic about being there. Building relations goes a long way. At Numeric, we're big on community, connection, and consistency. If you don't have systems and routine in your classroom, then you can't have a follow-up or a way to reprimand learners. Because if there's no rules in place, then learners are the owners of the classroom. They can do anything, and you can't then come at the end and say, this is wrong, if it was not communicated at the start that it is wrong. So you need to have systems and routines, right? Through our community connection and consistency, this learner was in our program in 2018. She was a learner at Tabisang Primary School in Dube. She was doing grade 7. This year, she's doing her 3rd year in BCom accounting, and she's assisting in our program. We taught her in grade 7. The learner agency, the sense of taking care and being accountable and taking ownership in her own learning has made her to get to grade 7 and pass with the quality mark that we want for mathematics. So these foundations that we're placing with our learners has produced some of these. We obviously have more kids in our program who come back, who are our kids and who are now studying at university. So now I've said we've done positive presence as a teacher, you've built relations with your learners, then now you create engaging lessons. Creating engaging lessons, the model that we use is the gradual release model. The I do, we do, you do. So I do is the modeling stage where you're actually teaching, the actual teaching, where your content knowledge, the imparting of the content knowledge comes through. And then we do, that's the facilitation stage, that's now participation of the learners. We do with the learners. And then you do, you allow learners to do with their friend, to do in groups, to do with the partners, and then also to do on their own. So we have exit tickets. That's a way that you get to see at the end of your lesson if your learners have learned, if they've reached the objective. Very important to tell the learners the objective of the lesson. Learners must know why they are there. They must know what you expect them to know at the end of this lesson. You also need to be able to translate the curriculum into bite-sized activities that will allow the learners to grasp the content and to grasp the concept. And like my colleague was saying yesterday, mathematics is one subject where you need to learn forward and to learn backwards. So that means whatever they're doing, they need to be able to link with what's coming after and even with where they're coming from. None of the maths topics are in isolation. Part of creating engaging lessons, this is now part of the I do, right? You introduce your lesson. This is hooking the learners. And part of hooking the learners is asking the big why. Why are we doing this? What does this help with? Where are you going to use this? Where does this come from? What did we do in the previous grade that allows for you to do this? Know the tools that they need to know or they need to use for them to be able to do whatever you're teaching them. Activate prior knowledge, create interest. For example, you're teaching functions, linear functions. Instead of saying we're doing lines and points and all of that, ask something as simple as, by how much did the taxi fare go up? If they were to plot that for different points, they get a linear function. Linking their everyday life with what you're teaching them in class. This is still part of I do, is the concept development. This is actually where you're teaching. Ashley touched on this when she opened for us this morning. We need to teach our kids step by step. They need to know how to do something, where it comes from, build it, scaffold them into application. So for example, if you're teaching quadratic functions, start with the table. So just get there and draw the graph. Let's not scare the learners. Start step by step. Start with tables, move to graphs, discuss the shapes, introduce equations. There's a whole lot of different things that we do in functions. Let's not scare the learners. Right? Let's link that to what they've done prior to FET. This is now the we do part. Encourage peer discussions, encourage group work, encourage board presentations, encourage explaining solutions, encourage peer teaching. We spoke about culture of error. If a learner is coming to the board to do something, make sure that they feel safe to do that. If other learners laugh at that learner, you nip it in the bud. You do not allow that. Because if they are scared to come to the board, they'll be scared to even try on their own at home. It means if they are not free to do it in your class, they will not be free to do it even on their own. Even in large classes, I taught once in a Gauteng North district. I taught a class of 110 grade 10s, 110. And I used to do the threshold. Took me 2 minutes to get 100 learners into class doing that. Takes practice, right? Even if I'm not going to be able to walk to the back and get to see each and every one of their book at that time, but I've had a personal contact with them while at the door. And they know that I appreciate them being there. So they will listen. When they're working, you can do the think, pair, share. You teach a concept, you wait for a moment, you think, talk to the person next to you, discuss it, share. Already by doing that, you're allowing them to think deeper about what you're teaching them. Encourage questioning. Do not just get an answer and then if it's wrong, you move to the next person. You ask the person next to them, why is it wrong? You get deeper understanding because sometimes them getting it wrong has a deeper misconception that someone else in the class is having without you knowing about it. So when you address it, you've already probably solved problems that other people already had. And now obviously more of activities and using differentiation. Differentiation is not having two separate lesson plans. It's having the tasks to do for those learners. So the learners that need more time, you have the tasks allocated for them. The learners that move quicker, you have the tasks allocated for them. You don't waste any child's time in your classroom. Then at the end, every time you have a lesson, consolidate, go back to the objective. Have you reached the objective? How far are we from the objective? Which just leads me to the thing of you can't have more than 3 objectives for one lesson. You can't, actually 3 is even a lot sometimes. Do not set up too many objectives because if you don't reach the objectives, the learners see it as you not finishing your job and not understanding the other dynamics and factors that lead to you not reaching your objective. So you look at the time allocation. You look at the time allocation and then you have your objectives accordingly. And be mindful of your questioning style. Don't just ask learners, are we together? We will always be together. What I like to say to my learners is, we are done, ask me a question. All right? So I say, ask me a question. But we encourage specific questions. So if you are working with graphs, ask a learner, what did we say about gradients today? It jots their memory back to where you started. And then lastly, we check for understanding. So still part of engaging. And when do you check for understanding in a lesson? When do we check for understanding when we're teaching? Colleagues? Throughout the lesson, right? It's not something that we wait for the end of the lesson. We do something called cold calling at numeric. Like I said, we use name sticks. And when you're checking for understanding, sometimes we do something called cold calling with no opt-out. So if, for example, I say, Monica, what's the answer to this? And Monica doesn't know. We wait for Monica to think about it. Monica is not opting out. All right? And if Monica is struggling, we say, Monica, ask Tandega. Then Tandega will help Monica, and Monica will give the answer to the rest of the class. So we still kept it with Monica. And then the other one that we have is affirmative checking, where the learner has to get it right before you move on. And you can do this while you're circling. So while you're circulating, you get to a child, you look at the sum maybe that they're doing, and you can see that there's a step that they're missing that's making them get something wrong. You keep showing them. You affirm until they affirm, until you get it right before we move on. Because if they get that one sum wrong and you allow them to go home and you give them 20 sums to do for homework, guess what? They're going to do 20 sums wrong. Is it worth it? No. Circulating helps you to see and pick up general mistakes that our learners are doing, and you can always come back to the bigger class and address them. Also helps to see which learners need your assistance still and which learners you can push them. Right, so in closing, look at that learner there that we started with at Numeric in 2014. She was in grade 7 at Mfuleni. Her name is Linda. So how are we developing an effective maths lesson to help Linda? The teacher being the most important resource in the classroom, building relations with your learners, learner engagement, the teacher understanding the traits of leadership, that you're in charge of your classroom, you're the leader, that is the space that you can control. Having strong content, strong voice, the joy factor, leading that to learners and engaging learners, classroom management, learners 100%, all learners in the classroom feeling fair, feeling equal, culture of error, allowing for learners to make mistakes and learn, using the threshold, being in charge of your class before your learners even come in, having systems and routine. Differentiate activities when engaging our learners. And through that, Linda just graduated as a doctor from UCT. We started off with her in 2014, and we can proudly say we have a doctor as a product of our program. Linda and many more of the children who are in the program have the opportunity and the access to receive the mathematics that is needed to improve South Africa. Help us do more. Thank you.
Let's give Bernice a McDonald's clap. Let's go. Amla, well done. Give it up for yourself. I was waiting for chicken licking. Next time. We're going to be heading into our final session. This session is Asikhulume, let's talk. We have a panel that will be coming up front. We'll be having some questions from the floor. And I also want to hear from you after that, some questions, insights, anything that we've discussed that has been really standing out for you. So to kick off the panel, please let's welcome the panel members. They'll introduce themselves while they're seated. Mr. Tabang Ngwenya, Ms. Xoliswa Mahlangu, and Mr. Nkateko Machumele. Give it up for them. Fantastic. This is Asikhulume, Let's Talk. I used to love that show. It used to get very spirited. Hopefully we don't get controversial. Good. I'll start that side. Just some introductions, your story, what you work on. Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Tabang Ngwenya. Just to be short, so I was born and raised in Pretoria, so all the way in Winterveld. Went to schooling that side until matriculated in 2014, began at UP, studied industrial engineering all the way to PhD level. So what I do, I'm a lecturer there, lecture third year industrial engineering students. But then what I spend most of my time doing. It's thinking around how to solve the systemic issues on the ground, working with young people, particularly on how to integrate them back to help educators on the ground. Because I think a lot of young people do have time to actually contribute, but then one person, I think other people need to create a platform. And a marketplace academy, it's essentially a platform like that. So that is just me in a nutshell.
Very nice.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Nkate Kumachumele. I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher. I'm the one who experiences all the challenges. And when I look at the stats, sometimes I'm like, yeah, no, that's reality. That's reality. But my passion grew for teaching when I was in grade 10, helping one of my classmates to understand something. I'm like, I actually like this thing. And then went to Wits University, and then I majored in mathematics. And then after majoring in mathematics, however, where I'm teaching physical science. So I'm teaching both maths and physics. And then went on to achieve 100% pass rates and quality results as well. And then went on to win the National Teacher Awards, Gauteng, for best teacher in math, in physical science. And then now I am a coach for physical science in Gauteng for NTA. And I'm still a teacher because I don't want to let go of these learners so that they can develop. Thank you.
Fantastic. Award winning, hey? Amazing.
Sanbonani, Ninjani. My name is Xoliso Mahlangu, and I'm the head of digital learning and technology at the SFISO Learning Group. A bit about me, I also go by the Tech Fairy, and just looking at the room, I can see principals and teachers of schools we have positively impacted. When I walked in, I was greeted by the principal, Waselisibucho, and just looking at the work we've done with our girls, it's been amazing. We recently had a Girls in Tech hackathon where they came up with amazing solutions. Being able to give that access to a child from a township is what really drives me. A little bit about my background. I'm also a VETSI for the fellow VETSI here. I am a software engineer that then went into the teaching space. So from building the software to actually being able to teach teachers how to teach that. So from the curriculum, from getting the labs set up, from competitions and ecosystems that make coding and robotics work. And with some of the conversations I was hearing, mathematics is very key to the work that we do. And I would like to think coding and robotics gives a practical output to maths. You understand what 90 degrees is if your robot needs to be at 90 degrees and it refuses to go to 90 degrees. So it makes those concepts that sometimes might seem so abstract, it makes them real and concrete in the kids' minds.
Thank you so much. Give it up. Give it up. I want to start to talk about the maths identity problem, the perception that learners has. That has been a recurring theme of the day in terms of many young people do not see themselves as capable. Where does that come from? And this is for all of you. How do you change it? And practically, when you're on the ground, how are you working to change it? I can start with you, Khaliswa.
I think it starts at the schools, just a personal recollection. When I was in matric, the school told us flat out that they won't be having pure maths. That as a school, it's not something they're going to do. Fortunately enough, I was in a Saturday support program and I could do pure maths in the Saturday support program. So my teaching journey actually started in grade 11, where a group of 8 of us then decided, okay, school not officially offering it, we are going to have classes ourselves and we'll have the maths teacher just checking in on what we're doing. So I think in grade 11 and 12, it was only 8 of us in the school who were doing pure maths because the school had made it policy that all the other kids should be on that thing.
What changed it for you? What was that mindset that said, I'm actually going against this? And
I think it's being seen. So being chosen on that Saturday support program gave me the identity that I can actually do this. And I come from a family where maths is respected. My dad is a teacher, and it was something that was built into us. So the story that the school was saying when we got to grade 11, it's not something he was going to be able to stand for. So at least having parents that advocate that we know our child can do this and having their backing from the Saturday school then meant I had a playing card that I could put forward.
I'm going to take that parent's point and put it in our parking lot. We'll come back to it. Nkateko, on your side, what actually creates this perception? How are you working to change it?
So with the perception of mathematics, it's the teacher, I'm not gonna lie. You know, it's the teacher. Because you find a situation where I'll be very practical. On Saturday, I teach like a group of learners, different schools. And then there's one school that says they are not gonna teach a certain concept, Faraday's law, because the teacher said it's not important. And now you bring that learner who hasn't learned this thing, and the teacher, because they do not know the topic, they then said, it's not important. Another strategy that we use is when you are there in class, and then I was teaching higher pitches, and I'm like, I don't know higher pitches mathematics. I allow the learners to make noise. I'm like, guys, today I'm not gonna discipline you. I'm not gonna have the classroom management. And now what you do as a teacher, you then create a mentality that these learners, they are not able to do it and it's their fault. Whereas the problem is you. Your job is to teach them mathematics. If they don't know mathematics, it's what's supposed to happen. Learners are not supposed to know mathematics when they come to class. But when they leave class, they should know. So the number one resource is who? It is the teacher.
Oh, incredible. Tamang?
So I think what I've seen with me, I think just the lack of knowledge, the lack of not knowing, I think more than anything, because where I come from, in deep Winterfeld, there's a perception that is perpetuated by the older generation that those that go to grade 10, 11 with their experience, they come back and start telling you all these things. Don't go this route. Maths is difficult and what, which is not essentially true. I think also not knowing what is possible with this subject, it also creates a barrier. It's what I've seen. It creates a large barrier because my personal story, I just happened to, I was good in mathematics, but then it was up until grade 11 where I started seeing value of where it actually takes me. So not even having role models also, like is a huge factor. Like it contributes a lot.
That's good. Let's talk about role models. How are you role modeling for the learners? I know you're involved with UP. You take tell us about that work that you're doing, and you take the students into the schools. What does that create for the learners?
So ideally, I think you start closing that access of information much quicker. Because if you have a second year engineering student who's still in a journey of becoming, I think the story becomes very much relatable. Unlike just having someone who've already made it, who, yes, you can relate to that story, but then it's still not fresh. So what we try to do is when we bring a lot of these young people in these schools, they need, in as much as they play roles of trying to actually help in mathematics, but then they become a source of like inspiration of that particular kid who doesn't have a mentor. And then over time, what we try to build is those relationships, we want them to sustain them longer. So beyond just doing it for University of Pretoria getting credits, how else do we actually make sure that those very students join us in the journey? So that's what I've done. The reason I actually stay longer is because I don't want it to be just Onkopote or just the Tabiso alone. I want it to be more of us because I think proportionally, the magnitude of what we need to solve requires a lot of us, not just 2 or 3 people, a lot of us.
Yeah, and just to add on to it, so we've had students in the JCP program helping us run our robotics winter programs, I think for 3 years now. As inspiring as I can be, to a 13-year-old, I might seem irrelevant. But when a 21-year-old or a 20-year-old is speaking to that 13-year-old, they make so much of an impact. They are that quick role model. They can easily see themselves. It's not like they're going for a degree or going for a PhD. They just want to pass matric and start um, impacting people. And also, just as a testament of the work we've done with the JCP, I think 2 weeks ago, I got people who had already graduated that said, if you're having any outreach programs, please contact us. We'd like to help. So that spirit of help continues even past having to pass second year.
Ngateko, tell us some positive stories where you've seen this change actually happen, where you had a learner who come in, they had this math identity that it's not for them, and you actually saw the change. Tell us a feel-good story, something that's gonna make us smile.
No, thank you so much. And the story that I actually have is the one that actually changed my perception of any learner, and it's not about the learner who was brilliant and smart. I had a learner who she had failed grade 11 2 times, and we had maximized her number of times to fail. So, when you are failing 2 times, you have to push that learner there. And she then said, no, she's going to continue to grade 12. And mind you, she got like 4% for mathematics. And then now look at her background, that this learner is staying alone, does not have parents, and there are contextual factors that affect, And then we had a teacher, we work together, collaboration is very important. You can't shine alone, otherwise they'll try to bring you down so that we are together. So rather develop develop others. If you want to grow the school, develop other people. That's collaboration. So we worked with the maths teacher, the physics teacher, to help this learner, and she actually passed, and even though it was like a 30 something percent, but we saw that if we are able to make her pass, shame. The problem is not with the learners. The problem is not with the learners, in all honesty. And also, one story as well, teaching is beyond the classroom. When you are a mentor, you are like, you see that example they were doing with the McDonald's and the hair and the what. She was holding a mic and we were doing what she was doing, right? But it was not the right thing. But that's our mentor. So you are the mentor as the teacher. If the teacher sets a good example to the learners, you are present in the extramural, you know. Once you are active in the learner's life, they see you care about their sport, you care about their AI. The learner wants to start a social media account. Instead of crushing them, just say, oh, okay, I'll follow you. Then the learner will start following you as well. That's mentorship.
Tava, you want to jump in?
So just to add on what he's mentioning, I think the previous speaker mentioned something about, so there's numbers, right? But then beyond the numbers, there's human connection, which is what he's actually like describing here. Because if we're gonna go with the lens of not understanding how we essentially showing up in the classroom, how that impacts a learner, we're gonna lose a lot of learners in the classroom. Because I myself, I'm a product of a good teacher who saw that this kid is actually brilliant, but then in the midst of many things that also influence what happens in the classroom. So I mean, in terms of like your peers who might not be in the direction that you want to be. A good teacher with what Kato is actually describing, good teacher is the one that would essentially just pull you out in that environment. And that influences the culture of learning in the school, like in the overall school in general.
Let's touch on relatability, because you're touching about that actually we need to build this relatability. When you have a teacher who's 20, 30 years older than someone who's 13, how do you build that, especially in our African culture where we always have to have that level of respect and disconnect to show respect? How do you bridge that practically? Go for it.
So today was a very weird launch. I was at a launch earlier on, and it's a school where I was training for coding and robotics. And the ICT coordinator was actually my English teacher.
Hey.
In high school. So just walking in was like, okay, then how do we change these roles? Now I'm supposed to be teaching this person and he should hear me. I think relatability works in spaces where there's mutual respect. I was expecting a lot of pushback, but he was the most welcoming. He made sure everything was set up. He made sure things were working properly because he's respected. And I think that respect was from the respect I offered him when he was my teacher back in the day. So relatability is not actually an age thing. Are you respecting your students as you go into the classroom? Are you seeing things that are similar? Yes, I might not be 13 and might not be able to do the latest TikTok challenge, but there's things that I can find which are alike and that we can relate on. So finding those small niches and making sure that there is mutual respect, that creates quite a lot of relatability.
Kateko, when I go chicken, do you scold the learners?
It depends. It depends, you know. You know, when like they are doing the right thing, we dance together, literally. When they are not, then I say, hey, come, let's come together, you know.
Mm.
But in a way that at the end of the day, they know that I love them, you
Yeah.
know. They
Wow.
know that the teacher cares for them, even though they don't have care from anywhere else. Like if you are there for your learner, the learner will be able to express themselves, you know, obviously with boundaries. But something very practical, we did a work called the mother tongue based education, where you as a teacher should learn the language of your learners.
Mm.
Something simple, because learning names is fine, you know, it's an issue, but it's fine. But also learning their language, because now we're getting to a context where in South Africa, there are 11 languages, and some learners, they don't understand you. They know maths, they're smart, but they don't understand you, you know. So relatability sometimes is those things of you are one of us, you know, and you are trying, at least try, you know. So that's what I'm also getting as well.
Yeah, I think also just the willingness to collaborate with young people,
Mm.
because I've realized that if we also don't establish a clear way of communicating with one another, that we can easily lose each other. So I think a good foundation is having like just a solid way of communicating with each other. Because what I've seen, especially with the school that we work with in Boxburg, was the biggest pain. I think that has been the biggest frustration for me and also the young people has been, how do we actually get into a space where you're a stranger, but then make those people welcome you? So that has been the biggest thing. So I think once we have actually won the way of communicating with the educators, the principal, then the work becomes easier. But if that is not there, it becomes a huge barrier because a 20-year kid who actually engages with like maybe a 40-year old or 50-year-old teacher, how we communicate with young people is completely different because it's like informal language you can easily test on WhatsApp. Yet on the other side, you still have older people who value human to human communication.
Mm.
So that is still very critical. And as much as we're in a world where technology is a good thing, but then with the older people also need to appreciate the other lens of they appreciate you actually going into them and having a conversation with them. That goes a long way.
Amazing. Let's touch on collaboration. We've spoken about the learners. Now let's touch on collaboration with people who are not particularly in your classroom. You see them in parents' meetings every 3 months. How do you then work with parents in terms of one, helping them shape the learner curriculum, understanding what's happening with the learner, but also shaping their mindset and how they see mathematics, because they're not always in front of your eyes. How do you work on that? Anybody can just jump in here.
All right, thank you so much. So one thing about parents, they should value the fact that their child's education is also freedom to their financial situation. You know, you are not there just as a teacher, but you are there as an employer. You are giving the learner a job and you are giving the learner money they can take home, you know. So once the parent understands that we are working together, we are not here to fight, you know. Some parents, they give you freedom that I do whatever you want to do with my child as long as they can pass, you know. It's just also empowerment that you guys, what you are doing as parents, you are doing well. And let us also teach values as well. Because sometimes you find that you cannot discipline the learner beyond their home situation. Because at home, maybe they do not shout at the learner and you want to shout. So also just find out what is the discipline measure they use at home as well, so that we have a differentiated approach into our teaching and our addressing of the learners.
Okay. For me, I think I'll go back to that point. You said we're going to come back to the parent one. Positive role modeling. As much as my dad was a teacher, my mom had actually left school when she was in grade 10 because of teenage pregnancy. But the person who positively influenced me in maths was actually my mom. When I was around in grade 4, she actually went back and tried fixing everything. So she positively role modeled what can actually be done. Another thing that I learned from that situation, parents should speak up for their kids. So if you know that your child can do something, despite of the reports that are there or the feedback that you get, advocate for your child, but not just speaking. Make sure you're getting the extra resources. Make sure you're getting the puzzles. Make sure you're getting the games. When I was looking at Mets 24 earlier on, I realized that's actually a game we had growing up. Like that game is more than 20 years old. I used to play it with my parents even before we formally went into school. So create that space where your kids can learn maths in the household, and if other people are saying something else, make sure that you advocate for your children and ask, what else can I do? One thing that is done at our school, which I absolutely love, are the intervention classes. And with the intervention classes, the teacher will say, here are our struggles, here's our strategy, and this is the extra work you need to put in. It's not only the teacher's job to teach your child. As a parent, you should take responsibility where you can. And I know the argument that might come most of the time is we as parents don't know. I think we get that argument a lot with coding and robotics because it's new. And parents will say, we don't know. As much as you use YouTube to go learn the newest baking recipe, you can use YouTube to actually learn the maths concepts so that you can do it with your students. There's so many apps that you can also use. So use all the resources possible to make sure that you're giving your child the best mathematical future.
Very good. Let's talk about now how you actually teach and what's happening on the ground. Kateko, I'll start with you. You're in Dipsluit. What does a week typically look like to get you to that 100% quality, award-winning pass rate? What does a week look like? How do you structure your lessons? How do you walk through with the learner?
Yeah, no, the first thing is proper lesson planning. Our lessons, they were not designed for us to work on Saturdays and Sundays. The curriculum currently now, in order for your learners just to pass, they have to come on a Sunday and a Saturday. You have to work. And now the teacher themselves, they don't have a personal life. And then the teacher now doesn't want to go to school and they are depressed. So the first thing is lesson preparation. Once you know what you want to teach, once you get to class, then you greet the learners. Very important. You see that one? Very important. Good morning. I acknowledge your presence. Sawubona, and also finding how they are, how are you? And then after that, then we can start our lesson. We teach content, and don't start with the difficult things. That thing of scaffolding, start with the easy things. Let the learners who are struggling celebrate their achievements so that they are positive. And if you are going to then have a long lesson, what I usually do, I play music during my lessons.
Which kind?
And like the learners, they are their own DJs. So I say, I go according to the class list.
Yeah.
They play their song. And one thing about music that you don't know is that when you listen to music, you can do something for hours. So my period is only 5 minutes, even though it's an hour. The learners, they don't feel like, we are working. They're grooving. It's nice. They're calculating. That's how actually games work. When you play a normal phone game, you can play for hours. Why? Because of the music. You give your brain a time to take a breather, say, I can do this. And then if you are only the teacher who's shouting, the learners, they won't learn. And that's how you get a positive feedback. And also just reflecting with the learners that did this lesson work by a test or an assignment,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. Tabang, you work in systems thinking, engineering. How do you then take these math concepts and bring them to life through that work to really, help the learners just learn from real life experiences?
Yeah, that's a complex question that you
We have.
So, in in what we're trying to do, I think more than anything, I think we what we try to do is actually to make students to be aware of behavior.
Mm.
I think more than anything, because performance is just an outcome of a certain behavior that you actually have to do repeatedly. So if in your life or as a student or as a learner, like you want to actually achieve 90%, but then what you do consistently doesn't actually align with that, you're not going to achieve what you're going to do. So what we essentially try to embed, especially this with the second iteration of what we're trying. So we involve educators now in the programs that we design to help us know exactly what to target within the classroom, because it doesn't help to actually teach a kid 1 plus 1, but then you can't actually metaphorically give them a perspective to say the reason I'm teaching you 1 plus 1 and you must get it accurately is such that for us, for example, to be in in this building, to feel like it's safe, is we trust that whoever actually did the calculations did a good job. So again, how we actually now start bringing the practicality, the real life, it's using like examples that kids can actually relate to. You can start translating the mathematics in the form of like modeling to say if you wanna actually with what Memlanga was actually saying, if you want to design like a sport field, what goes into there? What are some of the things that we start saying? The reason we're saying a length from here to here, we're saying we're using variables. Why are we using an X instead of a number? Because things at scale, we can actually put them in a paper. You can't actually draw a 5 kilometer a square in a paper, but you want to be able to say the reason we move from you learning about numbers to moving to a variable is such that we can be able to use this thing as placeholders. It's not to say now it's different from how you know your operations as 1 plus 1. It's just that now we want to actually make this abstract world, want to relate with it, but then abstractly how we relate to it is now we start using alphabets and things. So now your mathematics becomes easier. It's that understanding. But I need to actually make it clear. Why am I using X now? Why am I introducing Y? Why do I have two unknowns? When I have two unknowns, it means I must have two equations. Where is that coming from? So we try to actually bring that modeling, but then trying to relate it with simple things that you every day, it's your everyday life. You constantly do those things, but then maybe you're not conscious of. Just to try to connect those two.
Yeah, that's really good. But you work in education technology, and it's so interesting because this generation knows technology really well as an end user. They know how to use the apps, the AI to just like derive, not even thinking, just points out of it. You are taking them to now the value chain where they're building it. How do you see them interacting with that, where they are so used to just getting output, but now they can work in the input, which is also where maths is involved?
So I always say we've got digital natives. If you give your 2-year-old a tablet, they can figure their way around it. You don't need to have a tutorial and say, this is the button you click. That they can easily do. But a lot of people don't understand the systems behind. So with the whole purpose of the training that we do, whether it's digital literacy, digital skills, or coding and robotics, we're trying to make sure that they understand the insides of it. And understanding the insides, I might not be teaching you how to build a language model. That might be something later on. But I'm going to take the science knowledge from building a circuit so that you can code a simple circuit on a microbit. Right.
I don't know what that means. Well, I need to take a lesson from you.
Okay, so let me just tell you about the launch we had today again. I'll
Yeah.
reference to it. So instead of the name tags that you had, the participants actually needed to code their name scrolling on a microbit, right? And to facilitate that, I didn't have teachers at my table. I had grade 8 students that were actually teaching the guests as they walked in. Like, okay, so this is where we go. These are our code blocks. We drag in this code block, and this is where you can write your name. Now I download it onto this microbit, and you can actually see it scrolling. The 40-year-olds and the smiles they had from the lessons
Let me
that
look
they
at my
got
smile.
from the lessons that they got from the grade 8 students. So part of what we do is making sure that we enable kids to be comfortable with creating tech. It might seem like something small, but that same technology that's lighting up an LED is the same technology that's used in advertising. That same technology where I teach you how to work with an ultrasonic sensor. We pass boom gates all the time.
Mm.
Um, very, it's very rare that we ask ourselves, how did this thing see me? Right? So in my grade 8 class, I say it's got an ultrasonic sensor. When you are waving an obstacle in front of it, it knows to open. So we practically run through it. Giving them those foundational skills then gives them more tools to be able to create. We can only create with what we have. We can only dream around the systems that we have. So if they've got the knowledge of all these things and how they're interconnected, some of the projects which were up today were around security, like kids understand that we've got security issues. Some of the projects were around food safety. It's all good and well to be around Joburg, but how much land do we have to plant in?
Mm.
The more buildings we build, the less land we have. We're going to have a food security issue very quickly. So, how do I test the soil humidity? How do I test the sunlight? Those are things and concepts that we make sure we're giving to grade 8 and 9 students, and then they can build on them to come up with their own solutions.
Fantastic. You know, something that's interesting about technology is that, and this is purely personal. When I was in school, I was told, hey, don't rely on the calculator. I can imagine what it's like now when the AI can solve the whole equation.
Yeah. And the reality is, as teachers, one of the biggest questions is the whole construct of homework.
Mm. Mm.
Because a grade 4 student can easily put the homework you've given them, give it to Meta, come back tomorrow with a perfect score. So is it still sufficient for me to say, I've given you homework and then I can show, we can mark it? Am I marking a true reflection? And it's not only the kids. How many people in industry, this person always wrote 3-line emails. They've always been writing you 3-line emails. Now all of a sudden it's a whole thesis. The email is a whole thesis. You can tell they've just dumped it onto AI and that's what they're using. So amongst giving the tools, we also need to teach how to use the tools responsibly. AI is a great gift, but also there's a use it or lose it philosophy. If we're not using our minds, if we're not critically assessing what AI is giving us back, it's a great tool, makes things really quick. But if we're not looking into it and analyzing it, is our brain still being exercised?
Mm.
We know what happens to muscles that are not exercised.
Yeah. Anybody else want to add in that?
So something that I just wanna, it's just a challenge to educators, because I think in the space of what Tol is actually raising, eventually even with assessment, we need to think about how can we actually start assessing students orally. It's as simple as that, because if you wanna place confidence in students, the only way to actually eliminate that they didn't use this is only if you place them in front and they need to actually communicate what they did. So it's just something to actually challenge the educators to think about. I think we need to move away from a space where we just writing a lot of things, hoping that someone is gonna give me marks. I think we need to move to a point where we can communicate more than anything. Because I think what technology is exposing in us is that we're not connecting human to human enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is what is actually becoming clear every day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing it increasingly. Last week, I was in a meeting with 2 people, and there were 4 AI agents listening to the conversation. More agents than people. So it's just that's how it's happening. I think it's quite incredible because as we teach the embracing of the tools, because they will be there, it's about teaching that first principles thinking, and that does not come from just giving the AI your thinking ability. Microsoft calls their AI solution Copilot. It's not an autopilot; it's a Copilot. So that's a good way of seeing it. I want to talk about resources now. I'm from Harankua. It's a township. I did not go to a Model C school. We heard that the challenge is really in those lower income schools, where no fee paying schools, where we are seeing disproportionately matters going down. Let's talk about working in resource constrained areas. How do you then start to create still a positive effect to where you must teach a science experiment and say the litmus turns blue, but you don't have litmus? How do you work around that?
I think I'll take that question, because if you don't know deep slow, just Google it, Shem. Just Google
Them.
we have like a staff of like 70 something teachers, and our staff room is maybe from the door to here. That is our staff room. From there on, everyone is either your car is your staff room, or the class is your staff room, and the resources are not there. But just because something is a problem doesn't mean that it's a challenge, you know, because we have to then now go into resilience and just say that even though we have this limit of resources, but are you able to train your learners to go beyond that? You know, I love what's happening nowadays. Limpopo is showing people that just because you don't have resources is not a reason for you not to excel. You know, it's actually giving you an advantage that instead of you having this, now you must think creatively. Our learners are the most creative people. You remember that graph of creativity and mathematics. Our learners are creative. Let's just channel it into being creative with the resources as well, you know, and also be your own resource. I have a colleague, Mr. Mawe. When he's doing his lesson plan, he's not doing it for the learners first. He's doing it for himself first, that he must enjoy the lesson, you know. So you become that resource that I don't need a lot of things. I saw the robots. Me, I thought they are going to bring robots, the red, the blue, and what. You know, that was so creative, you know. So sometimes it's just that creative juice that you need to think about your resources well. Thank you.
Yeah, I think maybe something to add. You know, guys, I'm gonna sound maybe very philosophical about other things, but I think also it's important for us, all of us, to evaluate change that happens over time. To evaluate change that happens in our communities, in the schools over time, because I think Mem Mpolanga mentioned something to say we need to move away from making excuses. I think we are in an era where we can't justify why we're not performing anymore. Because truth of the matter is, after 30 years, it means there's more people like myself who have actually made it. So it means it's not just me in this country. So we need to go and find all these individuals that come from these communities and come back and be a resource. Because a lot of us, whether you are at an institution or you are in corporate environments, you do know someone who can actually learn something that you can take it back to your school or to your community. We need to go and hustle all those alumni from our schools. We want all of them. Whether you are in your 80s or not, we want all of you. Support us. There's a lot of young people like us who says we are willing to go back in these townships and sit longer with young people. But we need to, the schools, we need the database. Who are those people that come from these communities? Can we trace them back?
Yeah.
And we can actually serve with them. I think that is how we just want to solve the resource thing. I don't think we don't have resources. We just have people who are hiding somewhere, who just don't want to take responsibility.
And I mean that's so true. In the work that I've been involved in my high school, my own high school, we celebrated 1 year. The school is 40 years old. So we just went to Facebook and said, "Have you attended this school?" And that's how we started an endowment fund for the school. We said to everyone who'd been there who put in, just send $50. Some people were very now well accomplished and they're actually available. We just need to think of innovative ways. And what actually happened is I gave the challenge consequently to all the other schools to say, the learners go find and create this alumni network. That's how universities and rich schools operate. They create alumni networks, and those alumni networks actually give a lot of resources. So that's such a good point.
Yeah, and another angle from the CSI or partnerships space. There's a lot of work that is being done by a lot of CSIs to try and get into the schools and provide resources. But one thing we have noticed, you go into a school and they've had resources donated by several companies, right? The laptops are still in their boxes. Computers have been locked away for a couple of years. And so it's not a shortness of resources in some instances, it's resources not being used. Just by observing some of those schools, one of the biggest assets that a school has is great leadership. Where spaces are locked up and there's politics and people who can't control their staff, or there's acting principals every 3 months and people are changing principalship, that's when things are not used properly. So resources in some instances are there. There's spaces you walk in and they've got labs and labs full of robots, and a school just 4 kilometers down the road has absolutely nothing, or 4 kids, and they're making the best out of it. Our leaders are quite important. Even in the alumni spaces that you speak of, you need buy-in from the leadership. If the leadership does not have buy-in, there's nothing that you can do that's going to be exceptional. We spoke of phenomenal teachers. If no matter how phenomenal you are, if the principal does not like what you're doing, you're not going to get into their school on a Saturday and a Sunday. It's their school. And the things that you want to do can't be done without their say so. So there needs to be a leadership mind shift of wanting to get the best, not always expecting a handout, but taking the things that you have and making the most out of them.
Great. Amazing. Let me hear from you now. So I'll just come to the floor. Any questions that you have? Anybody wants to add some insights, comments, your stories? Amlanka.
Yeah, actually, it's an addition. I've heard most of you talking about you don't know. That is why it's difficult for you to teach the students. We've reached a point where we should unashamedly say, I don't know, to the students. And by saying that, you are implying they can also say, I don't know. Simply say, I don't know. Let's go to ChatGPT and see what we get. You are empowering yourselves and including the students. So we're at a point where lack of knowledge in mathematics is no more an excuse. And there are other people you can inquire. So that's just what I wanted to emphasize. And I don't know, I've got a boss. My boss will give you loads and loads of work, and you go, Caesar, I don't think I'll be able to do that. And after that, you will leave. Me and Colin we know him for that. And he registered his PhD. I said to him, I'm too old for PhD. Now I've registered my PhD because of him, because this is what he said. Leave you there. So sometimes we just restrict even our own knowledge.
Yeah.
There is so much available out there. That's just what I want to say.
Great. Thank you. Can I borrow that mic? I feel like Ricky Lake. Someone just gave away their age there by laughing.
What I also picked up, it's in addition to what you said, Nkateko, in preparation, what I also picked up is how we teach mathematical concepts, which is a big problem. For example, I'll make an example of something that is very easy. I teach grade 12 mathematics. You find learners whereby in their lower grades, they were taught that for you, probably you want to move, it's an equation, you want to move, let's say a variable or a number from one side to another, you transpose, right? But our learners, transposing to them is taking something and making it jump to the other side. But they don't even understand why they do that. And that means when we are teaching, we only teaching the procedure, and we're not telling them that why is it that you are doing that? And you need to understand, that's where we lose it a lot of times, because our learners, for example, they taught me some terminology that I didn't know. that difference of two squares is called dots. But now when you're doing inverses of difference of two squares and now you want to see if they really understand this, you can see that it's all about rote learning. But the mathematical concept, the understanding, it's not there.
I think it's so important, and I want to hear from the floor on that point, but also adding one other one about how do you bridge the gap? You have a learner who's now in grade 10, they are missing some critical information from grade 8 and 9. You have your own curriculum, and you must add on top of that. How do you work on that?
So on that note, so there's an issue of language. It's a big one. It's a huge one, of which I don't know how we're gonna address it, but it's a big one. But then what becomes important, which is what we do at MPA, I think there's what we do, which is called as like benchmarking test. So if you can introduce those ones, they help a lot in actually getting that some of this knowledge gap areas. Then within your team, what becomes important now is how you collaborate with the other educators so that you start addressing some of the key concepts. Because in the benchmark, you wanna get to check if the grade 5 knowledge is this person competent in it. Because I think it's true, it doesn't help to actually do a bunch of questions hoping that someone is going to cram and actually understand things. But then what becomes important is, once you pick up those things, what do we do about it? Then also we as educators in the classroom, we need to also change. Are we people who are just dumping knowledge, or we start facilitating the learning? Because I think also that becomes very important. Because I think if we just go like we do with the theory modules, where we just like put a projector and do exercises and we hope that will solve. In mathematics, that is not the case. In mathematics, we need to be able to either divide students, put them, those who are actually struggling with this concept, address those concepts separately, then integrate them back with the other student. And also what can help, that is something that has been mentioned a lot, it's peer-to-peer learning. Because I think a lot of this languaging that you're actually picking it up amongst the peers, it's what they've actually now come up with as a way of communicating. And I think we need to also catch up with that in the classroom as well.
Yeah, just to add on that, our country can do very well if we can just change our mindset on learning. Because I'm talking from experience. School starts in grade 8. I find a grade 8 who can't add. True story. 9 plus 9. True story. 9 plus 9 in grade 8. And then you'll find that poor maths results in grade 8 and grade 9. And then what usually happens is that we only introduce intervention class in grade 12. We only start intervening when it's late now. And we get the results. But then now, imagine the possibilities of this learner if she had been or he had been intervened from foundation. Imagine the possibilities for this country if we had taken the seriousness of grade 12 to the previous grades like grade 8, 9, and 10. And let's also stop the performance, preparing learners for performance, because you find them, they are good, they have skills, they can solve problems. The reason why we have unemployment is because we lack that creativity to create your own job. You are just waiting for someone to give you the answer, someone to say you are correct. And if you are not correct, then you failed. The reason why we have unemployment is because we are not training learners to be critical and creative. We want performers. We don't want people who are problem solvers. There are a lot of problems here in South Africa. People come from outside, solve them, and then us, we complain. Let's change our system so that we create problem solvers within these learners.
Wow. Do I have another question? There we go.
Okay. Hello, colleagues. My name is Dipiwe. I'm from SAICA. I just wanted to ask the panel. I'm going to speak as a Gen Z, someone who was in school now. So what happens with mathematics, right? When I was in high school, there was this thing that used to happen where kids can be brilliant. There's this gap between other subjects and mathematics, which is a problem. And this is what creates attitude towards you as a learner. So I asked myself, how can I be an A student in accounting, but I'm failing maths? Do you understand? And maybe there needs to be a discussion on how all the other subjects catch up to maths. because when you're at school, you're not only doing maths, you're doing other subjects. So you tell yourself, okay, I'm an A student at accounting, but I'm not doing well in maths. And I end up doing what? Maths literacy in order for me to pass. So I don't know how that gap can be done. And also when it comes to the Saturday classes, for example, I had a brilliant maths teacher that was called Mr. Krauser in our school. So he used to teach the A class. These were the special kids, the brilliant ones. And then for us who are in the B class, who, when we overall class, we are all in the A class, but in mathematics, we get separated. And then the best teacher in the school is told to teach the brilliant kids. And then we told, let's get the second best teacher to teach these other kids. And what did Mr. Krauser do? On weekends, he started Saturday classes. Again, now there's competition because he wants to stay as the best teacher in the school. And the other teachers not doing Saturday classes, and we end up wanting to go steal ourselves into those Saturday classes. Now, the difference now is that when we're in the playground, there's a whole attitude situation where we're not encouraged to go to class anymore because we have kids within ourselves in the school that are miles ahead of us when it comes to the academic space of maths. The same kid you can go to accounting class with, and it turns out you're on the same level as them. They're getting 90%, you're getting 90%. But in mathematics, they're getting 80% and you're getting 30%. So these are the challenges that are happening in our generation. Also, just to touch on the educator, I feel like with ourselves, I'm a person who's very big on social sciences. I always feel like our history is very different. You know, we are the only country that I know where education was used as a weapon. Bantu education was not a joke. It's not something that, it's something that needs to be taught, that we live in the consequences of Bantu education because Bantu education was a real thing. So at home, most of these children are the first generation of people to be doing what they're doing because their parents were not exposed to this. Their older siblings, some of them were not exposed to this. So when you take that school work of yours home, you have to figure it out yourself. So your first role model in mathematics is your teacher, and your last role model in mathematics is still your teacher because at home you do not have that role model there.
I don't know if the panel wants to touch on those points there.
Yeah, just want to reflect on that. That is correct. You know, you're presenting both the problem and the solution. We have like a learner who has 7 subjects, A in all of them, except for maths. Maths is here at 20%. The problem is not the learner. It is the teacher. It is the teacher. If we can push teacher development and not only just for you to know what we are doing now in class. If you are learning what we are doing now in class, you are late. You are supposed to learn what's going to happen in the future. So that's what we call continuous teacher development. So let's emphasize in our schools that those other 2 teachers, they must also learn from Mr. Kauza, if I'm not mistaken, that how is he the best? And Leonard mustn't stop at being the best. Let him empower the others as well for the future. Because, you know, this competitive attitude of ours, we are fighting ourselves at our own detriment. Let's work together. It's not about the statistics of 100%. Let's build this nation. Thank you.
Very good. I'm going to take 2 more. So I'll go this way there, and then I'll have a closing reflection.
Just to add on to that, at a lower level, like from grade 1 to grade 9, the power of project-based learning with the integrated studies makes the maths muscle stronger. When I understand why I need this maths to be able to solve this science project, when I'm busy working on a project, a lot of light bulbs go on. So I know, yes, it might not be my strongest muscle, but I needed to be able to complete the other things. So integrating very early on and building that connection. Subjects do not live in isolation. We want them to live in isolation. They don't. In accounting, as you had mentioned, there's a lot of maths in accounting. And once you highlight to that student very early on that you're going to need this going forward, then they'll put in a lot more effort. And also integration comes with actually understanding the subject. One thing that we do with project-based learning is curriculum mapping, where we put all the topics of the things that we're going to teach in the year and move things around so that we can teach things concurrently. You can't curriculum map if you don't know your content.
Myself,
It's on.
on.
Yeah.
I'm a teacher from Soweto Pace. I'd like to appreciate all the people who actually contributed today. So they actually gave us food for thought But my main focus, I would like to focus on the numeric program because my fellow colleague, she actually worked for numeric. Now, if it could happen that we could find sponsors, people who are willing to finance this thing, and then it gets rolled out across these various townships, I think we would see a massive improvement. Because as a senior phase maths teacher, what I've observed it is that the learners that come from a numeric, they show strength in mathematics. These fundamentals are in place so that when you get to teach them, you do not struggle and you with the basics, you know, it's okay, you can actually teach the grade 8 content or the grade 9 content. So there needs to be some sort of plan in place maybe after today, such that such programs are actually sponsored and taken care of. Yeah, thank you.
I think it's worth commenting and maybe to chat about how do you access different resources? I know all three of you are involved in how can the teachers actually access some of your resources as I move to that side.
Hi, my name is Liema. I come from a company called RoboThink. We do STEM classes with schools and learners. I think what we learned today is very enriching, and I hope we could take that knowledge and network beyond just this meeting. I think for me, we benefited a lot in terms. But just coming back just to some practical questions. I think one of the things is that what we have seen in a lot of public schools, teachers have got a lot to do, especially they've got a lot of admin, okay? That makes them not to have enough time to do other important things in terms of their lesson. But what I've observed is that you become more effective if you spend time preparing for your lesson, not only preparing, but visualizing how you're gonna present it and what are the relevant examples. Like for instance, in robotics, we would be doing something on gears and gear ratios. Yeah, and you have to visualize, how do I teach a kid to understand what is gear ratio and tell him about power gears, speed gears, how does he observe his parent as he starts the car and all those things. So you need to take a lot of time interacting with your own lesson before you go to the class and get relevant examples that kids can relate to.
Thank you. Bernice, maybe like share what are resources that teachers can find. I mean, you've gotten kudos for your program. So how can they access your resources as well?
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. It's good to know that our learners, are recognized, because I know we are feeder. Some of our primary schools are feeders to your school. So I had brought a lot of resources to show. I mean, these are some of the things that we can create for our learners. And you teaching area, surface area, and all of those things. If kids can see there's things that they can create also for themselves, then it's relatable to them. This was actually resources that my colleague here had created for his master's thesis. Our website, www.numeric.org. You can go there. We have your Maths 24 cards. We have our drills. We have things that flashcards, things like this. You can access those there. But I'll just touch on what one of the speakers was saying. It's not just about accessing the resources. It's also using the resources and knowing how to use the resource. So we are also in the space of teacher training. We do train. Currently, we're busy with university training. We're training pre-service teachers, but we're also in a space of training also in-service teachers. So by all means, reach out to us. If you need us, we can always come through and just engage. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take one more from the back. Oh, it is getting engaging. I'm going to go back there and then I'll come close that side.
Afternoon, colleagues. Is it afternoon?
Afternoon.
Oh. I think one of the challenges that okay, we are facing, I can't say I'm facing because I know it's a collective problem. And one of my colleagues in France said it. For learners to pass, I've realized that, hey, you don't have to have a life as a teacher. Yeah, this year I committed that 100% with a lot of distinctions, and it's taking a toll on me as well. You don't have Sundays, you don't have Saturdays, upoma late. I don't know at this rate, for how many years will I be able to push? So I don't know. I feel that we need to also have a way where you talk about the Chinese system of education, where they have an afternoon program. I don't believe it is the same teachers. There are people, you're allowed, you teach as a teacher, maybe from 8 to 2 or 8 to 3, you go home and relax because you need that rest as a teacher. Then someone else must come in at that period to assist. And I feel the government, they had a good idea when they introduced the, what you call this, the support teachers. I think that was the aim for afternoon programs. Maybe we need to have a way to make it feasible to work. When I leave, someone must come in from 3 to 5 to assist learners who are struggling. Because I know there's a learner in my class struggling. I will call the child, I will say to the child, they will be able to answer and solve the problem at the spot. But tomorrow you ask that learner the same question, they forgot. Yeah, it's gone. And abanye, it's even worse. I don't know what team. Is it the uniform fear of because yeah, they have this fear of missing out. They don't sleep. You see them in class. So this person didn't sleep last night. They were busy with their phones. So we are having a new challenge of cell phones, no regulation, social media. We need to find a way at some point to curb this, or else each generation actually mala. Yabong.
Thank you. Any points, reflections from the floor?
Also, just to add on having the different voice, for a lot of students, having a different voice gives them a different perspective. You might think as one teacher, you can drum it down, but sometimes they need to hear it from a different perspective. You need to hear somebody else's voice. I've seen it happen with our campuses. Sometimes they do co-teaching and teachers from another campus go to the other campus. Concepts that students were not grasping, just because it's said in a different way and somebody made a different example that actually clicks with the student, then the light bulb goes off. So sometimes it's important to have that different voice on the same topic.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I'm a technical maths teacher. Since we started this summit, they were talking about maths. And the challenge that we have is that our learners, even today, they still believe that they cannot do anything they want with technical maths. So today we spoke a lot about maths and maths lead. None of the speakers mentioned the technical maths, which is also worrying on my side. And another challenge that I see on most schools, because I'm from Limpopo, someone spoke about quintile 1 to 3 that are passing more than our quintile 4 and 5s. Is because I think most schools are acting late, especially they pay too much attention on grade 12s, forgetting that everything started grade 8, because you cannot expect a grade 12 learner to grasp everything within 6 months, because learners, they go to grade 12 with nothing. But if we can start from grade 8, I think up there we won't have much challenge. And the last concern that I have, especially because we are working with different teachers, personally, I did PGCE after doing my BTech in electrical engineering. But we have colleagues that are undermining us. You'll find some colleagues saying, now we did a degree in education, we know the classroom management, we know this and this and this. I like PGCE. So that also is another concern, but the one thing that I want to put on educators, especially grade 8 and grade 9 teachers, let's grill those learners there, because grade 12, there's no time. And even our district are giving us pressure, because you cannot finish a syllabus within 2 weeks. We want learners to understand, but we are pushing ATP. We do want to play games with the learners. We want to try this and this, but we don't have time for that. We want to push the ATP. That's another challenge.
Thank you.
Right, just to respond quickly on the first one, the administration is too much. I'm dying of admin. It's a lot. But one thing about admin, it protects you as a teacher in the midst of Bella. You know, it protects you against things that might be charged against you. So to solve that, use AI. So I'll advise there's a co-pilot program. Number one, it teaches you 5 minutes. You're already done with your lesson planning for the year. You're already done with your management plan and so many things. So your assessment plan, everything is done. Number one. Number two, funding. If we need funding, we also need to get talks like this. The whole nation should be here and listening to this. Let's get it on the social media. Let's get it on the news, because the bad things that you do in class, it can be done in the village. Everyone will know. But these good things that can change a nation, they are not made public. Technical maths, we have D caps. D caps means differentiated caps, where we use now the auxiliary work and the other things that you can do with technical maths, which are more practical work. So that one, just look into DCAPS. It's a system that they are introducing now. Thank you.
Good. I'm going to take one more point and then we're going to wrap it up.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I'll introduce myself at the end. Nkateko actually took the words out of my mouth. I wanted to make a point on AI. So for the admin, I use AI a lot because as a teacher, I also feel there's not enough time in a day. But I also want to, the discussion we actually had in lunch is we were talking about AI and the learners. And I encourage my learners to use AI. So I wanted to go back to the sir that was talking about the teacher wars at his school. And our learners these days, they are actually privileged because AI can teach them what that teacher you didn't have can teach you. So our learners don't only have what we had when I was at school. I had an encyclopedia. These days, the learners have TikTok, they have YouTube, they have Facebook, they have so much AI resources to teach them what we can't. And on top of it, they can rewind and rewind. They can even change the voice if they don't like what they are hearing. So, no, it's true. Sometimes maybe they don't like my voice. Then I say to them, go and listen to it in another voice. I tell them you can change the speed of how that person is talking. Maybe I talk too fast, make it slower, rewind it a few times, come tomorrow and show me what you learned. So we need to use AI to our advantage, colleagues, because I feel like we think AI is a scary concept out there. We need to bring it home, use it to get to the learners that we can't get to. There's even Siavula and a lot of other platforms, and I encourage my learners daily, go play, go win the prizes, and come tell me how you won. The last point I wanted to make is I just want to say thank you to the sponsors for today. This was really enriching to us. We are extremely grateful to Deloitte, to Marketplace, to Nation Next College, to everybody on the board, to Numeric. But a special thank you to the person that doesn't even know I'm here. And I spoke of him early in lunch, and he spoke of me just now. And we've been collaborating for 2 years, and I haven't seen his face. And today was the first time I saw his face, and he still doesn't know I'm here. Tabang, I am Simone Skorji from Oosrand. It's nice to meet you.
It really is like Ricky Lake. That's so fantastic. AI, it was AI. Let's wrap it up. I think 1 minute quick reflections of what we must stop, start, and continue doing as educators working with learners. Any point but stop, start, continue doing.
I think just to close, in as much as it's very important to learn, I think also there's an element of learning how to unlearn things. So, which is something that we need to be very careful of, especially with expectations that we put into our learners, because we can't want a behavior that we don't model. I think that becomes very important. So I think as educators, I think it's important to know what to unlearn so that we can relearn, so that the learners themselves would essentially know what to essentially unlearn even themselves. and know what to actually pick up to actually progress them forward. I think that is very crucial.
Thank you for me, to the educators, all I'll say, take care of yourself. You know, a good educator is a very good resource for the learners, and start prioritizing yourself as well, because you are important to this nation, and also stop taking things personal. Results are not personal. It's not a reflection on you that you are not a good person. There's a difference between a learner and learning, and also value the learners. Once they feel valued and respected, and pray, like prioritize God, and that you may be fine, you know, be fine, take care of yourself. And then last but not least, you are the agent we need to change this world.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, I think we're saving the best for last.
Yes.
Okay. So stop. Stop thinking that you are the oracle of knowledge. We live in a space where kids are not just getting knowledge from you. Make them aware of everything that is at their disposal and how to use it effectively. Start collaborating. Let's start collaborating within our schools, collaborating within our professional learning communities, collaborating with champions, collaborating with adult connections, collaborating with everybody who can drive our mission forward, and continue. Take education like a child, absorb the knowledge. Give yourself grace to learn. I think with every lesson that we start with coding and robotics, that's one of the first messages I say. The same grace that you give your students to learn, give yourself grace to learn. You're not expected to be a master on day one, but you can always explore and play around with things and have fun. Like, life's too short to not have fun.
Thank you. Give it up for Tabang, Koliswa, and Nkateko. Just really bringing that on the ground. And thank you to you as well for participating and contributing those spirited points about what actually happens on the ground as we actually now work on making our education landscape in mathematics just be more impactful. Before I hand over the mic, I just want to say thank you. You have been a great, great audience to be MC of. We're going to be going into our closing now. And I'm going to be welcoming, when I describe her, I say she's a firecracker. Chantal Mulder will be doing our closeout today. Ms. Chantal Mulder is the CEO of Marketplace Academy, a qualified chartered accountant. Chantal began her career at KPMG before joining the Public Accountants and Auditors Board and later SAICA, where she spent 37 years driving transformation and education initiatives, including the Tutuka Education Upliftment Project and Tutuka Bursary Fund. Throughout her career, she has served in numerous national leadership and advisory roles focused on skills development, education transformation, and professional advancement in South Africa. Personal anecdote is I also have sat under an exam that Chantal. Thank you. Give it up for Chantal Mulder.
I'm between you and traffic, so I understand. Takes us very long, and if you stay on the east, Geldenhuys interchange, no joke. Did you enjoy it today? Do you agree? KFC. We need more of this, and we need to speak to each other because, yes, we're working on a lot of big things. On, as you can hear, we're driving policy, making changes, but I was encouraged today because change starts with us. And as MPA, you know, we work with 8 schools. We've got 9 schools now. We've built relationships. And I've loved every moment. Audrey and I, nobody can believe we kind of retired, but we work because it's our mission to change the country and the youth. And we can't do it without the educators and the schools and the people. We're here to serve you. I wish I had a magic wand because when I look at the children, and I understand why you teach us, in my next life, my daughter said I should never do it because I'm too impatient. That's most probably true. It should happen now. And the schools know. When I phone those principals, they know. Now we must tell us. You know, Simon. Yeah, restaurant. When I start phoning and looking for results, and Audrey starts phoning. But we don't do it for ourselves. We're doing it to make a difference because we know what at the end of the day is important. Today's like today would not be possible if it wasn't for you. So I have to start and thank Deloitte. I have to start and thank them because when I retired from SAICA, I visited all the auditing firms and said, please, we now are supporting each other on something so much bigger. So Deloitte, thank you. Thank you you met Ashley this morning. I don't know where Joseph is, but thank you. They've all been running around. You know, one of our colleagues had passed away over the weekend. So, but thank you to them. Thank you for believing in us. And we're looking forward to, somebody said to us, and in fact, senior team members from Ross said, Chantal, all our schools, maths educators need this. So we'll start working on it because we don't need 2 days. We need 1 day. And we need 1 day where we can infuse each other and we can say, but we have the tools. What do we do? How do we change? How do we make life for our children better? Because you are in control of the classroom. That I learned and I loved it. You've got to start from the scratch that they know. So Deloitte, thank you. I want to thank our sponsors. I must thank CISA. They were here. Only too happy. I want to thank EXA. Thank you. Bassi, we were together last year, but we're going ahead forward for all the support and everything. SAICA, my team, so good. A lot of my old team members are here. I had Godfrey and I saw sitting on the other side. Thank you. Thank you for always being there and for supporting us and for believing in us. I must thank each and every one of you for coming. Thank you for your interest. As what you appreciate the learners, so we appreciate you for taking your time, for being here. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Kay. We weren't going to have the summit now. He needs a special thank you. And Joseph said to me, Chantal, you've got to have it before the end of May. And I'm sitting and thinking, I've got the donor appreciation event, I've got this, I've got that. So I said, fine. 21st of May was the only day we got the venue. And Kay and I said, but we're going to do it 1 day, and I'm going to do it with my partner, FNS. We work together on a lot of things, and we love his team. We work with Mompu, we work with Noli. The fire and the firecrackers there are the same, and it's lovely. And thank you, Kay. You made it happen. Yes, we sent the letters in the department. I've got to thank Klantla for helping us because I was on her like a rash. Where's the list? Where's the list? Where's the list? Thank you. Thank you, Denise. Thank you. Thank you for all of you. You made it happen and for bringing the educators here and worrying, are all the educators going to come? We've asked all the principals, but thank you. A lot of our donors are here. I'm not going to mention all of you, but thank you. And I know that we live in a great country and I've chosen to stay here and I love the people. I hate traveling. Everybody knows me. When I come back, I'm so happy to be back in South Africa. Thank you. I want to thank Tapisa from Deloitte in the back. All this webinars you see, everything, the setup. I mean, that doesn't just happen. It happens because teamwork, you heard collaboration. We all work together in making things happen. So, Prof, my special man, we've walked a long journey together. And thank you. I would be remiss if I didn't thank you. And you know that you loved and appreciated greatly, particularly by this woman. Unkabotsi, you, my young man, made a huge impression on us. You see all the new work over there, where we are. We spent a wonderful day in helping us reframe and rethink. Audrey said we moved from a cottage industry to a business. And we used to have the fish. I don't know if you can remember the fishing. My sister said, you've moved. It's not so churchy. I do believe in the Lord and I pray a lot. It's now no longer Tutuka, it's now Marketplace Academy. So thank you to everybody. And we want to also give you a little something. Corin has got something for you. He flew all the way up from Cape Town. I met him here when he was at EY in Joburg. So thank you. Thank you. And I said to him, he's stuck with me, whether he likes it or not. Yes, set for life. I've got a few of you that are stuck with me. So travel safely. And I hope that today was inspirational to you and that we know that our children's lives are in your hands. And when I do fight with the schools and the teachers and maths and whatever, there's reasons. Travel safely. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your support. Bless you.
A book that I had hidden away. Nostalgia trying to lead me astray.
Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go. When you only miss the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go. When you only miss the light. It's the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only
Find your inner anthem, write another stand.
know you're feeling low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go. But you only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. But you only miss the light. Only know you've been high. It's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know only the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go.